Dum 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 da 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 dum bum. You're welcome. Good morning, lovely. It is Thursday and it is poetry day. This week you challenged me to read you a happy poem, which actually was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And you know what I realized? I actually don't have very many happy poems among my list of favorite poems, which is kind of strange. I think that most of the poems that I like tend to be tinged with at least a little bit of melancholy, or, you know, a reminder of mortality, or some little negative thing to offset the positive, which I actually think has a really important function because it makes the sweeter parts sweeter. But you asked for something cheerful, so I went looking. The happy poems that I did find tended to deal with either nature or God, both of which are awesome topics, and I'm a big fan, but I don't know, I didn't find anything that really spoke to me. So instead, I am giving you an excerpt, a poetic excerpt from a thing, in violation of our rules. But it's like prose poetry, okay? It's totally not. It's actually just an essay. But a very poetic essay. I'll link to the full essay below, but this is the last paragraph. Are you ready? It is called The Ambition of the Short Story, and it's by Stephen Millhauser. And the first bit talks about the short story. Yeah, the short story compared to the novel. In the bit leading up to the part I'm going to read you, he talks about the short story saying to the novel that the novel can have everything, all the short story wants is a single grain of sand. And the novel grants that request because it doesn't understand the value of the sand. And now I'm going to read this excerpt for you. The short story believes in transformation. It believes in hidden powers. The novel prefers things in plain view. It has no patience with individual grains of sand, which glitter but are difficult to see. The novel wants to sweep everything into its mighty embrace, shores, mountains, continents. But it can never succeed because the world is vaster than a novel. The world rushes away at every point. The novel leaps restlessly from place to place, always hungry, always dissatisfied, always fearful of coming to an end, because when it stops, exhausted but never at peace, the world will have escaped it. The short story concentrates on its grain of sand, in the fierce belief that there, right there, in the palm of its hand, lies the universe. It seeks to know that grain of sand the way a lover seeks to know the face of the beloved. It looks for the moment when the grain of sand reveals its true nature. In that moment of mystic expansion, when the macrocosmic flower bursts from the microcosmic seed, the short story feels its power. It becomes bigger than itself. It becomes bigger than the novel. It becomes as big as the universe. Therein lies the immodesty of the short story, its secret aggression. Its method is revelation. Its littleness is the agency of its power. The ponderous mass of the novel strikes it as the laughable image of weakness. The short story apologizes for nothing. It exalts in its shortness. It wants to be shorter still. It wants to be a single word. If it could find that word, if it could utter that syllable, the entire universe would blaze up out of it with a roar. That is the outrageous ambition of the short story. That is its deepest faith. That is the greatness of its smallness. Dun, dun, dun. Wasn't that so good? I have written a happy poem for you, and it is actually a poem. As of this filming, it's actually Wednesday, and I haven't quite finished it yet, so I think I'm actually going to send it to you directly rather than posting it here. But yeah, I'm excited about it. The first stanza is quite happy, and the second stanza I have not decided whether it's also going to be happy or whether I'm going to put in one of those like bittersweet touches of mortality that I was talking about at the beginning. But anyway, it should be fun. And as for your challenge, I know. As I was studying for the English Lit GREs, I realized that a lot of the great writers were actually friends with each other, like Wordsworth and Keats, for example. And yeah, getting to know them a little bit made me realize how awesome and exciting that is. So, your challenge for next week is to find a poem that was written for somebody else. That can include a poem written in tribute to another poet, like Ben Jonson's poem To the Memory of My Beloved the Author William Shakespeare, or it can be a poem dedicated to someone else. like Thomas Gray's elegy written in a country churchyard. Or it can be a poem written to criticize somebody else, like Dryden's poem Mac Flecknoe. And by the way, please don't be impressed. The only reason I know those things is because of the GRE. So yeah, a poem written for somebody else. That is your challenge for next week. And that's all from me. I hope you're having a lovely and cheerful week, and I will see you next time.